Right, so we've got to talk about the current market climate, don't we? So following on from the last video, Bo, if you're watching, take note of how I navigated the previous couple of weeks. It's a lot of experience of just being around and watching for multiple years and seeing certain things play out, and just being able to have gut feelings and wise gut feelings and know how to actually pick up on solid advice from the subconscious, the higher self, God, whatever you want to call it, that has calculated more than your conscious mind can actually conscious when you sit down and try and rationally think exactly what do I think is going to happen and why. You just sit there after so long, your subconscious calculates a lot of things that without you even realizing, and it starts to give you gut feelings. And if you listen to those gut feelings, more often than not, if that gut feeling is a gut feeling when you're in a calm state, not an angry state or a jealous state or competitive state, they tend to be fairly spot on. So a few weeks ago, everyone was saying, especially in the crypto market, the dip that's just happened is just a dip, and all the rumors about the Trump tariffs aren't going to happen. We're going to cut rates. We're not going into a recession. We're not blah 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 blah. And then they were saying there's just so much kind of I'm a perma bull in the crypto market. I'm a long-term bull. But there was just too much fake bullish people, people who you've seen for years, and I've never seen them not say, scared money doesn't make money, or who's brave enough to buy the dip. The people brave enough now to buy the dip are the people who deserve the gains in the end, and because they know in 4 years or 2 years Bitcoin's gonna be double or triple where it is from now. They know that if they just keep saying buy now, eventually they'll be right. And where this goes wrong is altcoins. Altcoins is where it goes wrong. If you're just a constant buyer of Bitcoin, slow and steady over the years, you're going to do really well. But if you made, I've made this mistake many times, if you make the mistake of traveling of moving Bitcoin allocation into altcoin allocation, and altcoin dives 90% against Bitcoin, you've lost that Bitcoin well and truly for good. You're going to have to start from scratch again to try and build it up. So, and then Bitcoin can absolutely dive as well. But a few weeks ago, all I saw was this bullish kind of momentum. I just said to myself, and I said it on camera, all it's going to take is one, the market's on a knife edge, and it has been for a while. There's been recession worries, especially last year. Everyone was worried that unemployment rate was going to absolutely moon up from 4 to 5, 6, 7. Recession fears, inflation's always a worry, although I still am worried a bit about inflation and hyperinflation, but something that I need to get my head around is that the inflation compounds on itself. So the 2% per year, it's 2% on the already inflated amount of 2% from the year before. So if you were to do the 2% growth this year in terms of actual value per inflated coin, if you actually got the monetary buying power value, and you compared it to 10 years ago, that 2% inflation is now just a joke. It's probably 20% inflation, because the inflation 2% is grown by percentage, and that's just going to compound on itself. So I feel maybe the worries that I had about inflation has just been resolved by pure compounding natural inflation, which is not great. Let's be real, it's not great. because that inflation probably has been taken into account in terms of like the value of everything else going up. And I feel like most people can probably see it in their day-to-day lives. Like you get shrinkflation, like if you buy a bag of crisps now in the UK, for example, you get like 75% of the bag is just fucking air, and 25% is a few crisps at the bottom, you know. And same with Coca-Cola. Like there's a sugar tax, okay, but now on top of that, to keep the, so now a can of Coke that used to be 80p is now £2, okay. So it was 80p just a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago. It's now £2, and it tastes weaker. So they've taken fucking sugar out, or they've taken the syrup out. They've put more water in. The price has gone up, but it's just a joke. Actually, it's just a joke. So I feel like we are seeing the inflation that I was worried about, but it's not showing in the numbers. Just purely from someone messaging me, purely from the compounding inflation. But what is the current crack with the whole worry about the Trump tariffs? So all I see is people shitting themselves. That's all I see. I don't see anyone who's thinking multiple steps ahead. And what is the likely thing that Trump is doing, in my opinion? And what's that going to do? So if you ask me, I see this personally as a negotiating tactic. Not just, oh, we're just going to lamp on tariffs forever. We're going to what Trump is going to want is people to kiss the ring. Now, there's people that are going to want to kiss the ring fast because they know that they don't have an ego. And there's people who are going to want to kiss the ring slower because they've got jumped up egos. And people who are smart and people who are dumb. And people who are smart, would realize, especially smaller countries, there's no point even trying to, most smaller countries just know there's no point even trying to start a trade war with America, because the actual buying power of American personnel is too big, which is the key thing that people just completely miss. And what Trump is doing is essentially he's sacrificing the stock market in certain companies to allow him to be able to put pressure on other countries. So the people who are going to play hard are China and EU, because the EU, they're full of just bureaucrats who are self-inflated, egotistical, power hungry. They haven't earned their position. They get appointed positions, etc., etc. China, they don't like any type of bad PR. They're really like insecure as a country. Like the whole thing with Taiwan, like how Trump's given Taiwan different tariffs to China. China's gone up the wall with it because it's like, oh, Taiwan is a part of China. I feel sorry for the people of Taiwan, to be fair. But yeah, it is what it is. It's going to be China and EU who are going to try and play hardball. But this is what's going to happen, in my opinion. And you're already starting to see little signs of it today. But this is, if you go back and see some of my videos, it's what I've been saying for a while. But I don't think I've explained this part of the rationale behind it. So the rationale, why I think this is going to be temporary, and I think it might be resolved fairly quickly, and then the absolute euphoria of this being resolved is gonna just delete any recession fears. I think if we are gonna go in a recession, we're already in one. I think if there is gonna be a recession, we're already in one right now, and recession has taken average about 7 months, and I think this recession has been going already for, well, if you go by unemployment rate, probably probably start of the year, maybe last year. So you could argue maybe there's another couple months to go, or it could be a 2-year recession, depending on how hardball other countries want to play. But ultimately, what is going to happen is American companies are going to take a hit because um, the American companies have to import all the like raw materials to make their products. Okay, but who's going to get hit more? Okay, let's just go by Apple, who have got a whole range of services. Um, they've got a whole range of services. A lot of it is software, where tariffs doesn't really matter. And then you've got hardware, and then you've got software and hardware. So the hardware part of it is obviously going to take a hit. So that means what's going to happen is so they'll either have to swallow the tariff themselves, or they're going to have to increase the price of the laptops or the iPhones. So if you we know just from market research, if you're a marketer, that if there's a certain Goldilocks price that most people are going to want to go and buy. There's like a perfect optimal price, because if it's too high, a lot of people are going to find it too expensive. Like, it's an extra 400 quid more than I think it's worth. I'm not going to buy it. So that obviously brings the actual buying demand down because it's priced too high. For the American consumer, okay, now you've got a choice whether you spend and pay the tax, or whether you keep your money and invest it if you want. That's the whole argument for taking away income tax and having it tariffs, just because, like, what would you rather have? A tax that you choose to pay if you want to buy a product, or a guaranteed being rinsed and paying for like accountants to do all your taxes and etc etc. I'd rather have the taxes on the goods that are incoming, so I can choose to save my money if I wanted to. Originally, the idea for income taxes was during World War One, I believe, and they wanted it capped at like 10%, and they didn't realize everyone was going to be taxed. It was only going to be the wealthy. So like, there's a whole history to it, but ultimately, what is going to happen is the American public are going to get presented with choices, and the ones that are manufactured in America are going to be cheaper than the ones that are going to be manufactured in China, or produced in China and had to be imported to build and manufacture in America, if that makes any sense. So what the American consumer is, especially not when it comes to laptops, because maybe obviously the sales in laptops is gonna decrease, but when it comes to, let's say, cheese, for example, there's a cheese that's from Mexico. Let's just say hypothetically they're tariffed, and a cheese that's from America. If you're like an American that usually gets the Mexican cheese, you're gonna see, oh shit, it's gone up like 40 cents. I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna just try this American one instead. This was made in like New Jersey. I'm gonna try this one, get this one instead. So the American public will just start naturally making choices based on their budget to fit it all in. So it's obviously going to affect. All right, sorry, just had a problem with the camera, but essentially, if you're an American company and you've got a whole range of products, and um, you have options to focus on, let's say, the software side of things rather than the laptop side of things, etc., etc. The American companies are the ones who have the brand name, which people know about. They've got the mass buyer base, and it's all important about the GDP is the most important thing, because especially in America, um, anyone who's done FBA, drop shipping, or run a D2C business knows that all the buyers are in America. There's a massive difference between selling in the UK and selling in the USA. If you can make it in the USA, you're going to make it big. If you can make it in the UK, you'll make it okay. There's a massive difference because of the GDP and the amount of people. There's 350 million people in the USA, 50 million in the UK, and the USA has a higher GDP as well. So obviously, it's much easier to sell things to people in America. And who's going to get hit more? The people with the buyer base, where they can focus on other other products, or the niche manufacturer that manufactures a specific nail or screw for Apple in China. I mean, the demand of the laptops will drop, as a hypothetical example. Therefore, the demand of their specific screw is going to drop too, because it's like they are 100%, each one of their companies is 100% invested in this one very niche thing. Like, it's like they're, each one of those companies are 100% invested in Solana and Avalanche and Chainlink. Like, if one of those coins dips 50%, they're done for. They're done for. So what's that going to do? That's going to put pressure. So that's going to put pressure on Chinese companies or EU companies, because the buyer base is in America. The buyer base isn't in China. Because if you look at how many people, there's a load of people in there, but I think 30% of people are like homeless or something in China. Just look at the GDP. Like, the GDPs are catching up to America, to be fair. But just look at the GDPs across the world. Now, look at the GDP of California. It's a joke, for example. For example, California is a joke of a GDP. Um, they're going to get hit real hard are the foreign companies that are providing niche manufacturing bits to the American companies or that are building the products. Therefore, they're going to have then put pressure on the government of their country to come to like a free trade tariff deal with the United States. And that's what's going to happen because Trump's ego is too big to Trump's ego is too big to give in. He can't flinch at this. If he flinches, these other countries are going to sense weakness. And I think the whole future of China, for example, the Chinese economy was just banking on there not being a suicidal maniac wanting to tariff China 70%. Like, if you were wargaming it 20 years ago or 10 years ago, I know they've got like a 100-year long plan. If you're wargaming it 20 years, you say, what's the chances of that? Well, we've got like probably a 99.8% likelihood that that isn't going to happen. You know, this is like the worst case scenario for China. So it's going to have to, instead of China running away with this growth that they're using the American buying base to grow, they're gonna actually have to come to the table and maybe not get so greedy and swallow the pride a little bit. And I know they've got a little bit of Chinese supremacy and all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit cringe if you ask me, especially around during COVID. The first sniff I had of it was during COVID, and I don't know if you remember, they sent like 8 super scientists to each country to help as an offer of friendly aid to help each country come over COVID. Yeah, mate, whatever. Let's not even go there. But yeah, I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a massive shock in foreign markets. The foreign markets are going to put pressure on the governments of foreign countries. Therefore, the foreign countries are going to have to come to some sort of free trade agreement with USA. Any type of news that isn't 70% tariff on China is going to be, in contrast, good news. Therefore, the market will recover and recessionary fears will go away. Then we see rate cuts. Then we see maybe QE because inflation, if it stays down, but who knows? Obviously, with tariffs, there's going to be inflation, but that is fake inflation. Inflation to me is the value of the dollar. Is the value of the dollar decreasing? That's the old definition of inflation. Is like how do you inflate the supply of dollars in circulation, making each dollar value less. That's what true inflation is to me. Over COVID, they doubled the supply. So obviously, I was thinking, well, this is not good. I didn't realize that. I thought there was going to be hyperinflation and reverse market crashes and all that kind of stuff. I didn't really. I totally underestimated just checking that's recording. Totally underestimated the effect of high interest rates for a long period of time, and how that would actually dump the market. That's a lesson learned. But you gotta each failure is a lesson, But like that's how I see it playing out, and I don't know the timeline, but I do have a gut feeling that like it's gonna be April. So disclosure, I got back in today after seeing that futures down another 4 or 5%. I was thinking, right, S&P was peaking about 6,100 and it went down to 4,800. I'm like, even if it goes down a while, just look at the history of the S&P. I remember looking at it in 2020 and thinking, shit me, it's at 3,000. How the fuck is it? It was like a few years ago, it was 1,200 and it's at 3,000. In 2016, I was expecting a massive crash, like Peter Schiff level, fucking global reset 2016. It's any minute now it's gonna tank, any minute now it's gonna explode. And every time there's been a massive crash like today, over the weekend, and COVID, it's just been like a V-shaped recovery. Even go look at like the 70s on the economy back then and how it had an absolute tank. But if you just wait it out a couple of years, it will, in 5 years now, in 5 years time from now, the S&P will be at 10,000. It seems absolutely ridiculous to say, but it will be. It seems ridiculous for it to be at 6,000 in 2020. You just can't fathom how this just keeps growing, but it just does, and it has done since the 80s, and it's to do with quantitative easing and just printing more money, having more dollars in supply, and Metcalfe's law and all that kind of stuff. Lord knows what's going to happen with Bitcoin, but what I've got into right now is I was playing between Bitcoin or Solana, and I've still got like my long-term valuation of Solana is 1,000 to 2,000. That's where I think it's going to get to. Now, whether it's going to get to it in anytime soon, I have no idea. It's a long-term play. Whether it's going to get to it in 4 years in the next cycle, maybe. Whether it absolutely tailors out, peters out like most altcoins, like what Ethereum's done, like it could do that too. But I'm just going to be dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and S&P alongside for the next 4 years anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So what I've done is I bought Solana about $100 a pop, Tesla at about $228 a pop, S&P when it was about literally bang on 5,000. So I've like just literally just thrown in bags to each one of those, and now I'm just holding for long term because I know the PE ratio of Tesla is still in like the 40s, for example, but just go and look at what they've got in line for the future with robo taxis, with Tesla bots for the household, okay, with the Model Y new redesign, and it's sold out. Tesla charging, it's got the what's it called now? Metcalfe's law again. It's got the founder effect or whatever it's called, where it's had a massive head start. If you think of EV, what do you think of? Do you think of Renault Megane e-tron, or do you think of Tesla, or do you think of Audi e-tron, or do you think of Tesla? You think of Tesla. When you think of EV, you associate with Tesla. That's because it's got the market, the Metcalfe law, the founder effect, whatever it's called, and it's just going to keep on growing that way unless something absolutely catastrophic happens, which it could. But that's current thoughts on the current markets, and I've been waiting out for the past month or two, just waiting patiently for the big capitulation event. And most people don't realize that it was a capitulation event till after the fact. Most people during the capitulation event think it's going to go so much lower. Oh my god, the world's over. I'm going to wait it out until it goes a bit, just a little bit further down. Like, it's already down, Tesla's already down 54% from its high a couple of months ago. But I'm just going to wait for it to go down another 3% because I see that as a fair valuation. It's like, mate, it's down 54%. Is it going to go to like $100 per share and go down another 50%? It could do, and the PE ratios could return to normal to like 10 or something. But just look at where Elon Musk is sitting sweet next to probably one of the most powerful men in the world, who is literally wreaking havoc in the markets right now. So somehow I feel like Tesla's going to be all right. And somehow I feel like America's going to be all right. Solana, don't know. Bitcoin is going to be all right. It was a 50-50 between Bitcoin. Obviously, when Bitcoin is below the 200 moving daily average, then altcoins tank and bleed alongside it. I've got a funny story, actually. So last night I was looking at so last night I just, after seeing futures, I was like, right, I'm gonna have a bit of fun. I'm gonna have a look at some meme coins that I can short and make a little bit of money overnight. And I did actually have a word with God, higher self, intuition, and the message I got was, don't get greedy. You don't need to do it. Just don't get greedy. So I didn't do it. But what I was looking at really heavily, and I had the order up. All I had to do was submit the order to short 3 times leverage. I won't tell you how much, but it was a sizable amount of this coin, FARTCOIN. Okay, and I was like, I'm just not gonna get greedy and take the piss. I'm gonna just stick to my principles. Slow and steady wins the race. So I went to bed. I closed it off. Went to bed. Everything overnight had tanked. Okay, FARTCOIN was up 8%. Can someone tell me why a meme coin called FARTCOIN, amid the Trump season? That's ironic. It's called Trump season and it's FARTCOIN. But can someone tell me how that's up? Lord knows. It's probably absolutely mashed right now, hopefully, and rightly so, because it's called FARTCOIN. It should be zero. I was willing to aggressively short that thing all the way down to zero, and it went up. Let me see what it's at right now. Let me just have a quick, because it was at 45 cents last night. What is it now? It's at 51. It's at 51 cents. What on? Why? Just why? Like, that would have completely wrecked me as well. So I'm glad I didn't, and I listened to my intuition. The futures is actually playing about a little bit, but Tesla is down big from the open today. Like it opened, it closed yesterday at like 240, and it probably opened about 224 or something like that. And Nvidia, it went all the way down to 87 from 94. It's back at 97. Palantir, another one, I was looking at this one, 74 down to 66 on the open. FARTCOIN didn't do shit. It's up on the day. What the hell? Like, what whale? That to me shows there's some sort of whale in FARTCOIN. I think next bull run, I might just whack in like 100% of my portfolio with 10 times leverage on that thing, because that is a one-way golden ticket to generational wealth. I'm telling you now, that's a weird sight. There's some crazy motherfucking whale that's got their eye on the buy finger of that one. But anyway, enough for today. I'm going to shoot off. But if you like the content, give us a like, comment, subscribe. I'm just doing these as like a little passion project right now. If you find them interesting, just, yeah, give us a little hi or something, because currently no one is watching these things, which is absolutely fine, because as mentioned in previous videos, this is actually just more of a log for future, my children and stuff in the future, being able to see kind of what I'm doing. So I'm not doing it for the views. I'm just following passions. But if you like this type of content, just let me know.